Hi, Julie Jones from SSB Performance, Smarter, Stronger, Better Mindset Training, here with this week's Mindset Made Simple Tip of the Week, brought to you by Game Day Sportswear and On Point Pest Control. This week we're talking about motivation or commitment. Which one wins? I can't get with the program today. In fact, I'm going to have to read off my script today a little bit more because I'm just not there. I'm not feeling it. It could have been waking up to a sick child or a traveling spouse, but I was up ready to go, and then all of a sudden I wasn't. I haven't even made it to my gym yet, and it's late in the afternoon. I usually work out at 6 a.m. So what do I do to do what I need to do is the question. I thought about this conversation that I had with one of my teams last week about the difference in being competitive and being confident. And my contention with them at this point in their season that they needed to be more competitive rather than relying on confidence. So as I was thinking about that conversation, I thought, can I take that same paradigm and shift it onto my situation today where this feeling of motivation is nowhere to be found, just like sometimes our confidence is nowhere to be found. And yet I have all these commitments that I've made a choice about, just like being competitive is a choice that I need to take action on. So the question is, how do we use motivation and commitment, or how do we use commitment to overtake our behaviors when our motivation is fleeting? That is the question that I'm trying to nail down today so I can get myself up and out and in this beautiful weather that I am letting slip away as the clock ticks. I heard someone use this scenario about the difference between motivation and commitment. He was talking about how commitment is what really drives us. Because think about this. If you have a child, or when that child was a baby, and you're in bed, it's nighttime, and it's middle of the night, and you have to be at practice at 6 o'clock in the morning, or whatever, at work at your desk at 8 a.m., and you hear the baby crying in the middle of the night, and you're like, oh. And then you lay there for a second, you think, is it my turn? You actually like play possum just for a minute and think, oh gosh, I hope it's not my turn. And then you realize it's your turn. And you are not motivated at all to get your butt out of bed and go in to see what's going on with your child. No motivation whatsoever. However, you do it despite however you feel because you are committed to the well-being of your child. So you get up and you walk into the room and you smile and you act like you want to be there because you are committed to this beautiful thing that is yours, that you made a choice to bring into the world. That is the difference between motivation and commitment. I thought that is a great thing to think about. It's the commitment that gets you up regardless of how you feel. Understanding the nuances between the two is really important when we're trying to get people to go in a direction that takes some motivation and ultimately takes commitment. Because as you can tell, I'm already leaning toward the winner of this. Motivation comes and goes, just like confidence comes and goes. Commitment, like being competitive, is a choice. Here's what Marty Seligman says about about motivation. Motivation is no doubt important. In fact, he says, he's a professor at the University of Pennsylvania, says motivation is the propulsion system that moves individuals toward their goals. It's the drive that keeps them focused and determined even in the face of challenges. And yes, sometimes we have that feeling that just keeps us going. It's that emotion that drives us. In fact, we don't do much without emotion. We talked about emotion a couple weeks ago in relation to how we can manage our emotion in order to be our best. But sometimes we need that drive. And sometimes, a lot of times, it's just not there. Sometimes when things don't go as planned, when we just aren't feeling it, or we just have that feeling, we need something more than motivation. External things motivate us often and they lose their glitter, like maybe chasing a stat or the beginning of practice when everybody's all fired up and then you're in week 3 and you're like, oh my gosh, where'd that team go? And then the intrinsic motivation sometimes we lose as well. We start to doubt ourselves or things change. Just like this morning, my routine changed and that threw me off. So we've got to be able to protect for this. And here's where our commitment comes in, because this is what happens to us. We shift to commitment when we need to get things done, even when we don't feel like it. No matter how tired we are, we go get the baby. And unlike motivation, commitment isn't about desire or enthusiasm. It's what we are or who we are, not about how we feel. It's putting in the work because we're committed to the process, regardless of what's going on. It's that time in the season when things maybe aren't going exactly how we want to, or they are, and we have a tendency to maybe to get distracted from either direction, but we're committed to the people, the process, the goals, whatever it is. That commitment overrides our feelings and keeps us moving forward. Michael Jordan says that commitment is what transforms a promise into reality. It's the words that speak boldly of intentions and the actions that speak louder than words. Commitment allows people with lesser talent to succeed because they keep going while everyone else bows out, or while everyone else gets frustrated, or while everyone else doesn't feel motivated. We're committed, we're moving, and that helps us move to the front. Angela Duckworth, author of Grit, you've heard the book, I'm sure, says that while talent and intelligence are valuable, no doubt, right? Life is not a talent game, it's a strategy game. They pale in comparison to the power of commitment and perseverance. Commitment is what makes the difference. Are you the pig or are you the chicken? The chicken contributes, but the pig is committed. We have made a choice to move forward in this way. And in order to get there, we know that no matter how we feel, this is what we have to do. Action over feelings. That is how we get where we want to go. But where does discipline fall into this little trio now of how do we get things done formula? Discipline lays our framework, right? It's the systems, it's our habits, and we know that those are important. We have to be disciplined. And in fact, Stephen Covey says the undisciplined are slaves to moods, appetites, and passions. The disciplines are the masters of their own fate. And Jim Aftermile, a sports psychologist, says the ability to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it, that's what discipline is. There is no doubt that discipline is more important than motivation. Motivation, again, a feeling. Discipline, again, a choice. But discipline isn't what gets you up in the middle of the night to go get your child. Commitment still trumps discipline. If we aren't committed, our discipline doesn't necessarily take us in the right direction. Maybe we're disciplined in this area, but we're not doing what it takes to move forward. Today, I am committed to being fit. I am committed to being healthy. I am committed to writing a tip. And my discipline and my motivation have both gone out the door. But my commitment is what's drawn me back to get these things done today, because this is who I am and it is what I do. That is the difference. It's not how I feel. It's not even about my habits, which sometimes get disrupted, and that's what happened to me today. Or I can make every excuse in the book, but the truth of it is I'm committed to these things, so before the end of the day, they will get done. Motivation provides us the impetus. Discipline provides some consistency, but it's commitment that ultimately drives our results. In order to do anything worth anything, we know this, we have to commit. And in fact, if we look at it this way, every time we say yes to something, we say no to something else. So we're always committing somewhere along the line. So if we're saying yes to sitting on the couch, or if we're saying yes to not doing the extra work, or if we're saying yes to, that means we're saying no to our commitments. That motivation is involved in that. Commitment means I'm going to override these feelings and go do what needs to be done. Commitment requires vision, shared vision, and the vision in our mind. It requires a sense of purpose together and on the inside. And it requires making decisions for the long haul. One of the biggest things talked about right now in college athletics is commitment. And we know that the portal allows people to move around however and whenever they would like. if we can get athletes to understand that being committed where they are for as long as they're going to be there is going to make things better for themselves and for everyone, then we all end up better. I used to tell my team at Cleveland State, I think it was my last team actually at Cleveland State, we had a theme that was called, it was Get on the Bus. And what I reminded them was this: if you are on the outside of the bus hanging on, it gets really tiring. Or if part of you is in the bus and part of you is out of the bus, you are going to get some nasty road burn, and that is going to leave scars, and it's going to be very painful for you and for everyone watching, and even everyone on the outside. It's that commitment of being on the bus, whatever bus you're on, for however long you're on it. Let's commit to that. I'm on a commitment bus of living until I'm 100 years old. So if I'm going to stay on that bus, I better do what it takes to make that journey pleasant and successful for the time being. Is it going to be hard? Absolutely. Are we going to run into detours? Absolutely. Are we going to run into, is it going to be bumpy? Is the bus going to sway around? Absolutely. But if I can stay on the bus, then I am moving in the direction of my goals. And that is the key. How do we get people to be committed to where they are? How have you been committed? What is connected to you, to your commitments? Maybe we can re-engineer those and think about what made us commit to whatever it is that connects us, and then use some of those strategies. But it starts with us. Our commitment is vital. As a coach or as a leader, commitment to ourselves and our own purpose and our own vision and our own why, and then helping others find theirs so that they can be committed for as long as they're with you, that they, for however long they're on your bus, that they are fully on that bus until the end of the trip. And when the trip's up, they can decide whether they want to re-up for the next trip and get a ticket or not. And if they decide not to, then they're committed somewhere else, and you get to deal with the people on your bus and getting those people in the right seats, as they say in Good to Great. But the question is, how can we remind them of why they ultimately committed to where they are and what their goals were while they were there, before it got hard, or before they started to doubt, or before things changed? How can we remind them of that? And then reminding them that no matter how we feel, we can always choose to commit, just like we can choose to compete. If we can get them to understand that it's not how we feel, it's what we choose to do that makes the difference, all of us will go further together for however long it is that we get to work on this trip. So, is it competitiveness or confidence? That was the first question I asked last week. But for this week, is it motivation or is it commitment that makes the difference? Commitment's what's keeping me moving today, because I'm certainly still not motivated. I can think of a million reasons not to go do the things I need to do. But because I'm committed, I will walk my unmotivated butt around the corner here and over to my gym and get the workout in that I know I need to do. How are you committed? Think of what connects you to your commitments, and then share that with those that you lead. And maybe you can help them remember why they committed and what they need to do to stay committed for however long the ride lasts. If I can help your team think more about being confident, competitive, motivated, or committed, reach out, juliej@ssbperformance.com. And in the meantime, manage the moments and build that momentum, and have a great week.